It goes to the voters, you all. This is your voice, this is your vote. You're gonna tell us where you stand. I'm Frank Luntz. Welcome. You all are holding dials. Hold them up for a second. These are gonna register your points of view, second by second, moment by moment, as you watch each candidate. The more you wanna vote for them, the higher you turn your dial. The angrier you get, the lower you turn your dial. Perfection is 100. Awful is 0. But first we have to register you. If you consider yourself a conservative or moderate, turn your dial to 1. If you consider yourself a liberal or progressive, turn your dial to 2. Does everyone have the correct number? No. The more you like what you're seeing, the more you want to vote for that person, the higher you go. Let's turn on the sound. If you dislike what they're saying, the lower you're going to go. If this is perfect, I'm at 100.
This is perfect, I'm at 100.
If it stinks, I'm at 0.
If it stinks, I'm at 0.
The moderator's not fat.
The moderator's not fat.
I love you. Let's watch the debate.
The profiteering of the drug companies and the insurance
see a government that works great for the will.
Okay. I know who you thought won the debate. Here's the more important question. Did any of you walk in here supporting someone and now you're leaning towards somebody else? 1, 2, 3, 4 of you. Okay. Who'd you start with and who are you with now?
I started with Biden, but after this debate today, I have no confidence that he can beat Trump anymore. I think Andrew Yang stood out. Had he had more time on stage to answer questions, I think he could have put them all in his pocket. I think he's very smart, and I think Andrew Yang is my candidate. However, if somebody else is nominated, I vote for them.
Who'd you start with?
Mayor Pete.
And who'd you end up with?
Elizabeth Warren, who was my number 2 anyway.
Tell me why.
I felt that there was a maturity that was a positive thing for me there in terms of being able to really deliver on a lot of the things that I valued.
There are 2 more of you. Who are the other 2?
Pete.
You started with him.
Now Bernie Sanders.
Tell me why.
But I don't want Bernie Sanders to win the primaries because because I know he won't win against Trump. So yeah, I like his message, Bernie Sanders, but I know he won't win because of his health policy. It's to the extreme.
So you like him better, but you're going to vote for somebody else.
Yeah, Joe Biden, because I know he can probably win in the swing states, Pennsylvania. Yeah, he can appeal to the union people. That's why.
And there's one more vote switcher. Who'd you come in supporting?
Well, I thought I liked Amy and Biden.
And who do you like?
Definitely Bernie Sanders.
He won you over also. Tell me why.
He's on fire. He wants this so bad.
Did you say fire?
Yeah, he's on fire.
Explain that. I mean,
He's just feverishly hungry to change the America.
So you responded very favorably to him. My question now is, which is a higher priority? How they communicate or what they stand for? If you had to choose, because when I asked you about Bernie, it was all about his passion. It was about his communication. Which is a higher priority to you as you approach the California primary? Who would say how they communicate? Raise your hands. And who would say where they stand? And yet you told me that it was Bernie's communication. So explain that.
Well, the communication helps you win the presidency. When you are president, then it's what you stand for. But what Bernie can do is he can combat Trump. No matter what Trump says, Bernie has an answer for it, and he's going to say it right away. And I have no doubt of his, he's the best speaker on the stage, so.
With Bernie, it's one and the same. He communicates what he stands for. Because it's not enough to just say you don't like Trump. I mean, of course you don't like Trump, but you got to know what you're for. And I always know what Bernie's for.
Yeah.
I'm someone who cares much more about the issues and how they communicate, but I think I'm in the minority. I think everyone in this room is in the minority because we're the kind of people who would show up to this kind of event. Most of America does not care. We want to know who has the most charisma, who can yell loudest, and yeah, I think Bernie absolutely won the debate on those grounds alone.
Yep.
It's just interesting that Biden keeps referring to his history as though that's going to remind people that he's presidential. And I think to a lot of people here, everybody sighed when that's mentioned because it feels like you're not telling me anything specific about the future. You keep telling me what you've done in the past, and a lot of that stuff you've had to change your view on because you've been in politics for so long.
Couple more? Yep.
I think that many of the candidates seem to be running more on resume and personal biography, and they want to be president for personal reasons. I think that there are some people who are running where you can truly viscerally feel that they're doing it because they believe in what they're trying to do, and they're trying to do something for us. I think that whether you support Bernie or not, you feel that he's authentic in what he believes.
Couple more. Yeah.
I was just to respond to that, made me think of why people elected Trump, because he was so passionate about stuff to people that he spoke to that it seemed like that was why that was contagious. So I think that's why we're all very aware of that as well.
So I got to ask you the question then. You've seen the debates. You watched tonight. Who's more likely to defeat Donald Trump? I want to put two candidates up for you. Joe Biden, who none of you, I guess, did any of you think he won the debate? One person. Who is a better candidate against Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden?
Joe Biden.
How many of you say Bernie Sanders? Raise your hands. And how many of you say Joe Biden? Raise your hands. So you still see, even though you don't think he did that great, you still see him. Why is he a better candidate?
The middle class is getting killed. The middle class is getting crushed. And the working class has no way up as a consequence of that. You have, for example, farmers in the Midwest, 40% of them couldn't pay their bills last year. You have most Americans, if they received a bill for $400 or more, they'd have to sell something or borrow the money. The middle class is behind the eight ball. We have to make sure that they have an even shot.
I want Joe Biden to heal this country, and I think that he can do that. And we know what he stands for because we saw him in action for 8 years with President Obama, and I trust him. He has integrity and intelligence.
He might have integrity and intelligence, but if he's debating Trump and he's just stuttering, mumbling, doesn't really have like an idea about what he's going to say, then voters are going to recognize that and they're going to see Trump as the more like personable candidate, and they're going to vote him again.
So you're afraid that if Biden gets the nomination, Trump wins the White House?
I really do, because I think there are a lot of similarities between how people feel about him and how they felt about Hillary Clinton. It's like the safe option, like, oh, okay, like we're going to do this, instead of the like risky option.
I feel like Biden needs to do.
Go ahead.
I feel like Biden needs to do more than run on Obama's policies. He needs to come with something new, because everything is about what he did and what Obama did in the last 8 years.
And he doesn't answer questions. When they asked him about reparations, he danced around it. But if you follow Bernie's support base and where the money comes from versus Biden's support base and where the money comes from, this is in an information age, when all of that information is transparent and accessible.
And you think Bernie's a better candidate against Trump?
Because if you follow the money and where it comes from people like me that give very, very small donations.
So you're one of those million donors.
Yeah, and I give my time too. It's more important.
So I contest the idea that the debates are really that important.
We had 4 people. Hold on. We had 4 people who came in here in one area, one way, and went to another way. So clearly, there are people watching this.
Ask them again in 2 weeks. Every single debate, Hillary Clinton crushed Trump and her numbers went up, and then 2 weeks later, something else happened and they went back down again. My experience, and for me, the qualities you need to do in a debate have no relationship to being a president. I generally don't watch the debates because, you know, the stupid arguments and it's just ridiculous.
Pete Buttigieg was arguing, oh, that's the way it is. Politicians, like, they get donations from big donors, but you have, for instance, with Warren and Sanders, new politicians saying, we don't want it to be like this anymore. We want a new normal where there's not big money in politics, where it's everyday people who are buying the influence.
More income and wealth inequality since the 1920s. We need an economy that works for working families, not just the 1%.
But then they're still taking the same money that Buttigieg is taking, and
They're not. They're
yes,
not
they
taking
are.
money from big corporations.
Okay.
They're not.
Anyway, but there is a limit of $2,800 that they can take from each donor, which is legal. So why not do it if it's legal?
Super PACs.
Go ahead.
Supporting rich donors also invites rich people involved in super PACs to get involved where they can donate much more money, which is why the repeal of Citizens United was something that came up tonight.
Yeah.
So when you say that you're going to take super PAC money, as I believe every candidate Bernie has, and when you say that you're going to go to these wine cave fundraisers, that signals not just to donors but to the public that you are willing to take large amounts of money from unsavory, wealthy donors.
We don't know if
Is everyone who's wealthy unsavory?
It depends on the wealth.
You just can't make a blanket statement that said, if you're a billionaire, that you're unsavory.
Why are you
Because,
making that face?
You know,
You're
I've
making
had
that face.
personal
Why?
experience
Well,
with
I
people
mean,
that earn
there's
their
just,
money.
there's no, I mean, I'm sure that they can be genuinely nice people or well-intended.
Were you working for them? I mean, like,
But like I believe like at a certain point to accumulate that much wealth, there is no way that you could possibly have accumulated that much wealth without exploiting workers, exploiting millions and
Yes, there is. A musician. A musician.
Why
am I?
Are you? Period. Right there.
Then they're charging too high ticket prices.
I'm 45 years old. I was born a few weeks after Nixon resigned, so my whole life has been post-Watergate. There has not been a day, week, month, year where anybody at any level of government has done anything that has had a positive effect on my life. So when Senator Klobuchar and a lot of them get up there and act as though they have accomplished a great deal for us, it kind of rings hollow. I mean, you know, what has Senator Klobuchar, what have really any of them done that has had a positive? I have friends who are Trump supporters and Bernie supporters all across the spectrum, and I ask them all, what has actually happened that has made your life any better? And nobody can come up with anything. Trump supporters can't come up with anything that's gotten any better. Nothing. I still don't have health insurance, and I have a heart problem.
When you started and you were going back to when you were born in 45 years, I had no idea where you were going.
Well, I hope you found it.
Go ahead.
I have Obamacare.
Yeah, me too. That's what and it saved me a ton of money.
Yeah, and it's basically free.
Well, it's not free, it's expensive, but it's...
You know, I've buried a friend this week. I've buried so many people over the last few years. There's good odds that somebody in this room isn't going to live to the next election. I'm tired of the horse race. I'm tired of who's up, who's down while people die. This is supposed to be a great country. It's not. Not anymore.
And that does what for who you support?
Andrew Yang's the only candidate who's actually putting something forward that might have some sort of a positive impact on my life.
So
He's talking about specifics. Everybody else is talking about feelings and ideas, and wouldn't it be nice if we could do this?
So if he is not the nominee, and bluntly, it is unlikely that he is, what does that do? Where do you end up?
Well, Trump's a danger to the country. I feel that anybody up on that stage would be a stronger candidate than Trump. I do feel that some of them are more equipped to beat Trump than others. So I would look at it based on who I feel would be the most able to get up on a debate stage with Trump and convince people.
There's one more segment I want to address, which is the Biden versus Bernie. When Biden looked at him and said, put your arm down. And it was the widest division of the dials of the evening. When they talked about Medicare for all, the moderates and the progressives, the spread was 20 points, 30 points in some cases. In that battle, who won?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden.
Why Joe Biden?
Because he's being realistic. It's like the voters in the swing states, they're not going to vote for Medicare for all. Those Trump supporters, they're not going to vote for that. It's like it's too much to the extreme. You have to be in the middle.
Polling over the course of the last few months has proven that to be a completely untrue assumption, to be blunt about it, because Medicare for All is popular with, I think it has 60% support across America, and I think like the unrealistic thing would be to run on a the same platform that Hillary ran on healthcare, which was, and expect a different result.
It can be popular. People. It can be popular, and I would love to take advantage of Medicare for all, but we're going to probably have a mixed, we won't have a Democratic Senate,
You could have a
probably.
Democratic Senate.
We possibly could, but if we don't, what's going to happen? They're not going to vote for.
They're not going to vote for the ACA either.
Okay.
Medicare,
Closer.
I don't think has anything to do with the Midwest not voting for Medicare for all. I think the problem with Trump supporters is that they're ignorant. Yes. And the reason, this is my reasoning for saying that.
But I do want to challenge you because people are watching.
Okay.
And that is a very tough thing to say. If I don't challenge you, then I will be challenged.
Okay.
Do you really mean what you're saying?
I mean exactly what I'm saying.
So anyone who voted for Donald Trump is ignorant.
I'm saying those who would go against the health care, yeah, a lot of them are ignorant because either it's that they're ignorant or they just aren't educated or they're not taking the time to understand what's being presented to them.
I'm just going to say it as you said it. I'm not saying all of them. Donald Trump voters are ignorant. How many of you, by show of hands, agree with that? Isn't that...
Frank was saying, not as well informed as I would like.
That's exactly what ignorant means. That's what I mean by
but
that.
it's not as harsh.
But not all of Frank, I think they lack emotional intelligence. I don't think that they're ignorant. I think they lack emotional intelligence. If you've had somebody with a pre-existing condition with anemia or whatever it is, insulin, diabetes, excuse me, I don't think billionaires are bad people or unsavory, but if you look at how many people are homeless on the street, and if you look at how wealthy our city is and that exists, I think it's a lack of emotional intelligence.
Okay, I want to ask you a word or phrase, as we did earlier on. A word or phrase, I'm going to start in the front row and go around. A word or phrase to describe the average Trump voter.
Stupid. Cruel.
Republican.
Ignorant.
Republican is a good one.
Self-serving.
I'm sticking with ignorant.
Ignorant.
Misinformed.
Racist.
Voted
There it is.
against their own interests.
Misguided.
Selfish.
Living in a bubble.
Ignorant.
Sad.
Uneducated.
Manipulated.
Uninformed. Angry and scared.
I think scared.
I was going to say afraid also.
Hard-headed.
Uninformed.
Duped.
There's a gentleman who's trying to win in California and spending a lot of money, and he is not in tonight's debate. Mike Bloomberg. Are any of you even considering voting for Mike Bloomberg?
No.
None of you?
No.
We got one.
He's a Republican.
Yes, in the primary. Are any of you considering voting for Mike Bloomberg in the primary?
No.
So his advertising is not working.
No.
So his record as mayor is not working. So, yeah?
For me a little bit.
It is.
I have to be honest, I saw one of his commercials and I was like, oh, he cleaned up New York City, right? And no? Okay.
Can I suggest you not go out to your car alone? Are you considering him?
I was just going to say it softened my stance on him. Like, at the beginning, I was like, why is he running? But, I mean, he had some, credentials that he put in the commercial, but I'm probably not going to vote for him. But.
Bloomberg?
Oh, no, I was going to say if there's any candidate that was missing from the stage that I wish was up there, it'd be Julian Castro. But not Bloomberg.
And I was missing Kamala.
She's out, though.
I know.
But nobody's missing Mike Bloomberg.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't want to see a fight of billionaire against billionaire, UFC, WWF style. I want to see Bernie versus Trump because we're in a class war. That's what it is. It's Medicare for all versus the status quo. I want to see where it slides.
So
I want to
we're-
see, and Bernie's the only person, well, I think Warren and him have a similar platform, and I would vote for her as my second choice, I really would. But I want to see it Bernie versus Trump.
Go ahead.
If Mike Bloomberg were the nominee, I'd vote for him, but I don't have any strong feelings about him. He hasn't done anything to win me over, to even make me remember him.
This is not good. He spent millions and millions of dollars, and he's having no impact on you. Okay, final question. What should the people of Los Angeles who read the LA Times or who enjoy the website, what should they get out of what happened this evening? What's your overarching conclusion about what you saw?
I was just disappointed that we didn't hear a little bit more about California, being that this is probably the only time that they're going to actually, I mean, we're not a flyover state, we're a fly-into state. They fly into here, they go to a bunch of high-priced fundraisers, maybe they show up at some event that they don't tell us is even gonna happen, and then they fly out. So it would have been nice. I think we heard about, I don't know, homelessness and housing just kind of tangentially. It would have been nice to have heard a little bit more about, specifically as voters, what's going on in our state. We spend more money on housing here than anywhere else in the country.
I don't think that's what's going to win the general election. I think we have to talk about the swing states. And when we say that Trump voters are ignorant, that this is a fly-into state, not a fly-over state, then it reinforces this idea that a lot of conservatives have, that the Democratic Party is this elitist, coastal elite party that doesn't care about the rest of America.
Well, I think the takeaway from tonight will be, at least in California, is that it was between the progressives. I mean, none of us liked the moderates, Pete or Biden. I mean, the majority, most of us liked Warren or Sanders. So I think that's the takeaway that I think the country's going to get is, well, it's liberal California.
I wish somebody would have talked about the fact that Californians basically finance a lot of the states, especially in the South, that are voting for Trump and voting for the Republicans, and that are looking down on us and saying, oh, we are the libtards and what have you. But we are the ones who are making the money so that they can even survive. And I think if a Trump voter would hear that, maybe they would think differently. I don't know.
They don't care.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I don't know that anyone can top that comment or that anyone would want to try.